Hi, today we're going to be running through the setup and installation of WordPress to an existing web host. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to go to wordpress.org and download the zip file of the software. So current version is 498. We've already done that, so we're going to go straight to uploading. So we've got the relevant version installed. So this is our web host. I'm just going to delete everything on there at the moment. I'm going to upload the binary file or the zip file. Once that's done, we're going to unzip it, so I'm going to do that quickly. So here we are at the actual hosting page. So what we're going to do is we're going to uncompress it. This is just it's a cloud solution with its own portal. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to get all of the configuration into the right place. You could upload all of the files directly, but it takes a lot longer. So I'm actually going to do it on the web hosting. So that's uncompressed. So I'm going to delete the zip file, and then I'm going to go into here, and we're going to get those in the root. That can be removed. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we've got to get our WP config file ready. So we need to rename it first of all, and we're going to get rid of the sample at the end of it, which is done. Then we're going to edit it, and we're going to add what we've configured on our web hosting. So first thing that you need to do is I'm going to change it from a local host. This is purely dependent on what your web host sets up for you, or what you set up on your web hosting plan. So database name, these are all going to be changed afterwards, so any hackers out there, you can ignore this for now. All you want to do is make it as difficult for anyone to crack as possible. So in this case, I'm using a really strong password. I'm going to add that in there. And then we want to create our salts. So we do that by just taking that API. That's going to give us the salts key. Copy that. That's going to go in here. And then I've also got a prefix. Again, don't use the default. Tick. Okay. That's it. So that's all you need for now. Now I can minimize that. That can be closed. So we should now be able to install it. So go to your domain that you have got. There we are. So you want to pick the relevant language to how you're installing. So for us it's the UK. We're going to give it a site title. So in this case it's we're just doing something here, and I'm going to give it a username of webadmin. Copy that password, put that over there for now, and I'm going to use an old email address. Okay, so now we can log in. that's it installed basically. We're going to take the password they gave us. I'm going to log in. Okay, so this is the WordPress dashboard. This is the first screen that you'll come across. So for us, I personally prefer the classic editor, so I'm going to install that first of all so that we can start creating posts and so on and so forth. So we're going to activate that. Okay, so that's done. Now what I like to do is I'm going to tidy up the dashboard, so I switch off, use the screen options here, switch off the WordPress and events, leave the activity on. First thing I'm going to do is go to plugins and delete the Hello Dolly plugin. This is the anti-spam plugin that I always set up. I'll do that later. I'm not going to do that now. And then I go through, I actually bin all of the posts and pages. I'll keep the privacy policy because that's useful for later. Shouldn't have any comments now. That's good. So these are the three themes that you get: 2015, 16 and 17. We're going to leave ours on 2017 for now, but that can all be customized later on. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to add some security. And the plugin that we're going to use is called WordFence. It's the one here. Now you can see how many installs it's got. So once you've got it installed, you need to activate it, and then we'll run through the basic setup with you. So I'll let that run. Okay, so that's done now. Now we're going to activate it, and this is where we do the setup. Okay, so this is the first thing. What you want to do is you want to enter an email address that you're going to receive these security alerts for your website. These are the basics. So do you want to join the mailing list? No. And we agree to their terms and conditions, which is their privacy policy basically. So we're going to accept that. We don't have a premium key because we're going to use the free version, so we're going to say no thanks to that. And that's it now installed. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to go to the dashboard. And we're going to do that in a sec. So we want to say yes to this one. So we want WordFence to always update automatically. And then I'm going to run through the configuration of the firewall with the wizard. So one thing you do have to do, it'll detect what version you're using. So I'm actually going to ignore that, but we do the download HTAccess file so that we can continue. And that works in the background. Now this takes up to 5 or 10 minutes. So you don't need to do it again. It's already done, and it's running through its checks and setting up. At the moment, if we scroll down here, you can see that the firewall is in learning mode, which is absolutely fine, and the optimization of the WordFence firewall will happen in the background, and that will kick in shortly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run through some of the options. So the advanced firewall options, you can ignore all this because it's the defaults, so we're quite happy with that. The first thing that we're going to go through is we're happy with all of the configuration here. There's no need to change any of that. Brute force protection, at the moment it's set for 20 login failures, so I always go through and set those to 10, and immediately lock out, well actually we ignore that. We want to lock out anyone who tries to log in with those credentials, because we've used ours as web admin, and these are the default ones that get targeted. So you can configure whatever ones you want, And if you've only got yourself as a user and you're sure you're never going to forget your username, then you can tick this box here to say lock out any invalid username, so any username that's not configured on the website. The rest of these are all defaults, so we don't need to change any of those. So block IPs is send a post request with a blank user agent and referrer. I always tick that box, so that basically says to the system that anyone who submits something to the website, they need to have a valid user agent, i.e. they need to be coming from a browser, and they need to be coming from, they need to have a referrer header set as well. Rate limiting, so at the moment this is switched to on, so what I do here, I set these to 120. Sorry, that's 240. These are all set to 120, and this throttles the throughput. For the human actions, I put in 240. You can go through and tune these later on. And then we move on to the whitelist. So you will populate the whitelist areas because your firewall is in learning mode for a week. So let's just minimize all of those and we'll save those changes. Okay, so it's picked up the firewall rules 70% and it's picked up the settings here. Still in learning mode, so we'll leave that. And as you can see here, the protection level has now been populated. So this was the automatic piece that we did earlier. So I'm going to go to all options because there's a couple of other things that I also set up. So I display the blocking menu and the live traffic menu. So what that gives you on the left hand side here tells you who's being blocked and also the live traffic. So if we click on live traffic, as you can see, we haven't got any traffic at all at the moment, but if I go to our website, eventually you'll start to see some traffic in there. So under the blocking section, this is where you can block suspicious IP addresses, hosts and all that kind of stuff. So what I tend to do is I have one window open with the live traffic, the second window open on the blocking, and then I will add a range of hosts. So in this instance I'm going to say block everything at badhosts.com. Give it a reason, block it. So basically any requests coming from anything on the badhosts.com domain will be blocked. So I can actually remove that because I just made that up. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to go back to the all options again just to run through them. I'm going to hide the WordPress version. I'm going to disable code execution for the uploads directory, so that will stop any code from being run inside the uploads directory. And that is all on that one. All of these are default, by the way. I'm not making any additional changes to it at all. I'm just going to go through and double check what we've already got. So the advanced blocking options, you can only get this with the paid plugin, but you've got sufficient protection in the standard free version. So this is the scan options basically. So what this does is WordFence will go through and scan the website for any malicious code or stuff that shouldn't be there. So Because we're installing it from scratch, I always pick the standard scan. Don't need to change anything else in there at all. Two-factor is the paid product as well. That's it. So that is all the configuration for WordFence basically. So that's now fully configured. As you can see, there's tons of options for it. As you get your site live, then you might want to go through and review some of those options, but that's pretty much it at the moment. So as you can see here, 60% scan, 64% firewall, that's all fine. You will see attacks being listed in this area here as you go forward. So that is it. If you go back to the dashboard, we can move some of these options around so you can see it without having to scroll down. This will all get populated as you go forward. So that's the basics of setting up WordPress with a security plugin enabled. What I'll do next is we'll go through some of the theme settings, some of the plugin settings, some of the posts and pages, but that's all there is to it. Any questions, then just leave us a message and I'll get back to you. That's it for now. Thank you.